One thing batteries do not like, the cold. Old Blue here, she just flat out refused to start up. Even tried my little jumper box over there. Didn't have nothing on it, so got her charging. Just barely got Sancho running, but she's running. Tonight, clearing some space, I'm gonna show y'all how to change some brakes. The car we are working on changing brakes today is our 2018 Toyota Highlander. So, I'll get my mount out of the way. So this thing, it has been making some noise. The wife had told me, oh, it's probably been a month or more ago, that it was making weird noise, and I drove it and it didn't feel like it was the brake pads, you know, being worn down, and they weren't squealing, so I just kind of let it be. But after driving it some more, it steadily started getting worse, and it was kind of a more of a grinding sound, but not continuous. It was kind of wah, 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 wah. And so I took another look at it about a week ago, and it looked like the pads were getting down there pretty far. So we are going to tear into it, and I'm going to show you how to change brake pads. It's really easy. I think most anybody can do it. So let's get into it. Gotta cover that up. Don't want to be sitting in that. Blue car is leaking power steering fluid. So that they actually both leak power steering fluid, but blue car is leaking it real bad, I guess. So gotta cover that up. Not quite. That'll do. All right, now you're gonna have to excuse the heater going because it's cold. But the first thing you want to do is, oh, perfect timing. Thank you. First thing you want to do is you want to get under here and you got to jack it up. And so on these, it looks like it's got a full frame on it. So we could jack up one side at a time. A lot of times I'll find a center location to jack it up and jack both sides up at the same time, which looks like we got one right here. So you want to find somewhere that is solid. A cross member, it's got to be steel, of course, but if you're at all worried about it, then look for these big metal frame rails on each side. This is an SUV, so it looks like it's got at least, you know, on the front here, it's got frame horns. And so you could jack up on the flat spots of those on either side, right here and right here. But I think I am going to jack it up right here. Toyota's pretty good about putting these things in. I know, well, this has it. The Avalon that I drive, the 2006 Avalon, has this same kind of thing. And the Corolla I used to have had the same deal. So the Corolla, actually, you could jack it up. It had one at the front and one in the back. And at one point I had put a jack on the front and the back and lifted it completely up, and it was perfectly balanced left to right. I thought that was pretty neat. But let's get a jack under here and we'll get some jack stands under it. The jack's not really liking me too much, but I'm going to jack her up real fast like and get the jack stand under the frame horn. I'm going to go ahead and adjust it down a little bit because I think that I adjusted it up too high. So I'll bring it down a notch or two and then just jack up the jack real high. One thing I noticed, look at this. Sport utility vehicle jack. I'm finally using this jack for its intended purpose. So look at that, sport utility vehicle jack. All right, let's do this real quick like. All right, I got my little high lifty guy here. He can be a little sketchy sometimes, so I'm going to be very cautious with it. But let's see if we can get him on here. Need to get some hydraulic fluid to fill it up, and I have a feeling that would take care of all the sketchiness. All right, let's see how she does. All right, looks like it's going. Is it going back down? Maybe a little bit. Let's see. Yeah, I think it's okay. Yeah, it's going back down. Press this guy down. We're just gonna go down one. Give that a try. Knock it down the peg. All right. Here's Mustang parts, junk. All right. No, still not down for you. Should have done two. I knew I should have done two. It's getting there. Always makes you a little nervous when the jack starts making noises. One more yet. We might max this sucker up. Oh, so close. All right. Here we are. Looks good. Now the one thing you want to make sure you got it really. Oh boy. Didn't need my Wheaties this morning. And our pen's coming out. Oh man. Want to make sure that pin is all the way through the other side if you got one of these types. There. put him clear back as far as we can. And then have him centered left to right. And we'll take our other one. I don't know if you guys can even hear me because of the fan. Let's see. I believe we had to go down one more peg. So, we were here. Now we gotta go down here. Put it in there. Make sure that your pin is all the way through. Boom. And this side I got my dang. I'm gonna slide that sucker out of there. There we go. I had my mat that keeps the floor from getting power steering fluid all over it, right in the way. So, now you want to just look. Let me grab the camera here. Now, you just want to look once you have this down here. So you got that one about where it's going to be. This one, we want to try and make it as centered front to back as possible, or even front to back with this one as possible, and then have it centered left to right on the frame horn here. And so, if you look, there are some dimples and stuff in here. Like, I'm not going to stick my finger in there because I like keeping my digits, but if you look in there, there's that hole right there, and you got this specific shape right here. And so we'll look at that side. It's almost to the front edge of that hole right there. No, maybe it's, yeah, the front edge of the jack is about to the middle of the hole. So we're gonna put him right about there. Make sure he's centered left to right. Looks pretty good. A little bit that way. There we go. Now we'll set her down. And back where you can see. There we go. Gotta set the jack down on the jack stands. Just set the car down on the jack stands. Always use jack stands. You know, I've had more jacks than I care to admit give out, where they just decided out of nowhere they just wanted to let loose, and you do not want to be under the car or have any part of your body anywhere where a part of that car might land. One thing, these jacks, they make me nervous as heck, is the release point. I don't really have any fancy aluminum racing jacks with the handle that releases, so I have to use these ones that have the little release on the bottom. But what I do is I just kind of ease into it. I'll feel it start moving, then I'll just let it settle down on there. There we go. Make sure it's taking the weight off of there. I'll keep going down, watching the front end of the vehicle, seeing how much it's settling, because sometimes these things aren't all that stiff. So, you know, it may it may sag down in the front a bit, but I'll take a majority of the weight off of it. And this one didn't settle too much. Looks like it's all off of there. And then I'll take and I'll put a couple pumps back onto it, or, you know, just enough to take some tension off of it. So now we've got some of the weight being handled by the jack stands and some weight by the jack. And so to me, that's kind of a fail safe, double safe. I don't know, but it makes me feel better, so I do it. Okay, now we gotta take the wheels off. Now, I am spoiled in the air compressor department. I got that nice new 60-gallon compressor over there, and so I am going to use that for the other side, but I am going to show you guys taking the lug nuts off by hand on this side, just in case, because I know a lot of you don't, or a lot of people don't have a compressor. So if you don't, then this is how you do it. All right, so to get our wheel off here, we got our wheel, we got our lug nuts. I've got a 4-way here. You can get away with just using the little lug wrench that they put in the vehicle, but for our purposes here, I'm going to use my 4-way. And so I'm going to find which size it is. Oh, and by the way, it probably helps if you do this while the wheel is still on the ground. At least just knock them loose. For this, I'm going to grab something to stuff under the wheel. If you're an idiot like me and you forget to do that ahead of time, then just find yourself something that you can stick under there. Like I got this old gallon bucket of filler. This is some good stuff, by the way. So Rage Ultra, it's the way to go. So we're just going to take this, stick it in there. Now, make sure you put it on the side that it's actually going to hold it. So if we put it here, like I was originally going to do, when we go to do it loose, it's just going to kick it out of the way. Ain't going to work. So, stick it on the back side, just like that. And we're going to see if it will crush it. Maybe if we put it this way, it'll have a little more rigidity. All right. So we got that wedged in there. Give it a test. All right. Now, you can sit here and muscle that sucker off. I'm sure I could probably do it, but I am on the smarter, not harder camp. So if you're ever on the side of the road, you need to change a spare tire. Don't sit there and try and muscle it on the side of the road. Stick it in there to where it's flat. The 4-way here is flat, left, right. You don't want it to be like this, to where the perpendicular sides are up and down. You want to have it to where the sides leading out are out flat. If you're using your wrench from the car, it'll just have one, it'll be like an L, and so you want to have that arm part of it out to where it's laying flat. Put it like that. Brace yourself on the top of the car. And we'll see if I can't bust my butt here on camera, but stand on top of it, give it a couple wiggles. It started kind of coming loose on me. Let's make sure we got the right size here. I think that one's going to be too small. Yeah. Way too big. Way too big. Yeah, well, it's got to be this side. Seems a bit loose. Let's try it. Started slipping on us. You could hear it pop. It was starting to go, but our little filler jug let us down. Let's try it again. There it is. sucker's tight. Well, before I start messing up the wheels here, I'm going to cheat and get the impact out. I think y'all get the point. It's supposed to just pop loose. It'd be a lot easier if it was down on the ground, and probably if I was using the actual lug wrench for the car. But that's how you do it if you got to do it that way. I don't have to. So let's grab the impact. All right, we got our compressor aired up here. I know I need to change out my quick disconnect fittings. They're a little leaky, but so with these Toyotas, I always keep a 13/16. Yes, I use chrome sockets on my impact. Don't you judge me. But the 13/16 will slide on these suckers. It's real tight. But I'm not going to use it because I will end up fighting to get those lug nuts off after I zip them loose. I do have a 21 millimeter. This is an actual lug nut socket. It has this protective plastic coating around the edge to keep you from messing up your wheels. So we're going to use that guy. All right. Now, got those suckers loose. You just want to push in on the top. That'll kick it out on the bottom. Put your hand up here on the inside of the wheel, or you can just grab one of the spokes and lift it off. Now, one thing I always like to do, of course I got my hose right in the way, but I always take the wheels, I lay them flat and put them under the vehicle. Now, that way, if it decides to drop on me, if my fail-safe step 2 happens to fail, then at least that'll keep it from dropping the rotor on my leg and making me a peg leg. So that's just something I like to do to be an extra measure. So now we got our wheel off, and this is our caliper right here. Inside the caliper, up against the rotor, is our brake pads. That's what we need to get out of there. There's one in the front, and then there's one right back here. I don't know if you can see him, but there's one on the front and the back, and what they do is they squeeze on the rotor when you apply pressure on the brake pedal, and that creates friction, and that's what stops your vehicle. So to get those bad boys off of there, you'll normally always have 2 bolts. I've seen some cars, mainly GMs, that use pins. Never could stand those things. Actually, I think maybe my Ranger has the pin type, but most vehicles have these bolts back here. There'll be one right here and one on the bottom right there. So you're going to want to get these 2 guys off. It looks like they're probably 12 or 14. Maybe a 13. Yeah, I'm thinking it's a 13 or a 14. Let's try a 13. All right, yep, I just got a drawer full of wrenches. I got my nice handy organizer sitting up here, doing a lot of good. Let's see, 13. There's a 13. All right, and of course it's a 14. Hold on. All right, only took me 5 minutes to find it, but here's our 14. Ah, yeah, that's the one. Now, I did keep my 13 on me, and I'm going to show you why. When you're going to bust something loose on this, sometimes they put these suckers way too tight. If you're doing this at home, and anybody can change brakes at home, but as long as you got a few wrenches, you got the right size for the bolt, and you got another size that's close, you know, one step smaller is fine. You just take the open end of the one you're not using, or I'm sorry, you take the closed end of the one you're not using, and you put it on the open end. And if you're going loose, let's see here, lefty loosey, we're going to be going down. You're going to go on the bottom. So you put the open end around the bottom end of the, I'll get this right. Just give me a minute. You're going to take the closed end of the one you're not using, wrap it around the bottom side of the open end that is attached to the bolt that you're trying to free up, and then you're just got to push down. And there we go. Ooh. Sometimes these suckers stick a little bit, and there's actually, I don't know if you can see it. Let's see if we can zoom in a little bit. Right here, there is another nut type deal. That one looks like it's a 15 or a 16, of course, but you can put another wrench on here to keep it from spinning, because like this one, as we're going, it is spinning the whole thing, and you're not going to be loosening anything up. Let's try the bottom one first before we get all crazy with it. Oh yeah, that one came loose. That's what we like. This guy here is going to be a pain. Let me spend another 5 to 10 minutes finding the right size wrench. I'm back. So, ended up being a 17 after trying every size I could find and trying to find a 16, which I apparently don't have. It, of course, ended up being a 17. So, what you do is you just slide that guy on right there, and then you take your 14, which this is not. Put him on here. You hold this guy, and then you push down on this guy. Remember, you're going the opposite way of what you normally would because it's facing. Oh my goodness. I'm okay, I swear. Okay. There we go. Precision. Boom. Done. All right, now that you got both those guys loose, we got our 2 bolts loose. Took the bottom one out already. So that guy's out of there. We'll take our top one out. There he is. Put him to the side so that you can later kick him clean across the garage and never find him again. Then we're going to take our caliper off. So you got your 2 bolts loose, and you're just going to want to swing him out. It's, of course, it's not going to come out this way or this way. You just want to swing them, and you always want to swing them out this way because you got your brake line on the top. So look at your brake line, see which way it's coming in. You don't want to bind it up. You're going to just pivot it to where it's not going to bind your brake line. And what I always do is I got this guy here. Just grab yourself a bungee cord, or you can use baling wire, even a shoestring. It doesn't really matter. But grab something and then put it around your coil up here. And this guy's done many a brake job, so he doesn't have too much. Oh, hello. He doesn't have too much stretchy left. Let's see if I can get you back where you need to be. Oh, what's that? Come on now. Get back. There we go. Oh, no. All right. We're in high struggle tonight. High struggle. All right, I'm gonna try this again. Let's see if we can get you guys where you need to be. There we go. All right. Maybe more zoom. Try more zoom. Maybe we can mess this up a little bit more. There we go. You just stay right there. All right. Sit tight. Now, after you're done struggling with your camera, you're just going to pivot it up. So we're going to kick the bottom end out, and then we're going to slide it right out of there. There's your caliper. Well, they got dual piston calipers on the front of this thing. Ain't that fancy? And we're just going to stick the hook ends on. Well, I was just going to put one in either side, but you want to take as much tension off of there as possible. Will that work right there? Not really. Like I said, I ain't got too much stretch left in the old bungee cord here, but that'll work. So now we're going to keep our caliper up there. You don't want to just let it hang down to where it's just all the tension is on your brake line. It's just asking for it to break or pop a leak, and leaks are bad with brakes. So make sure you got it just hanging by the bungee cord. Now that we got that out of the way, let's take a look at our pads. So here's our pads. Oh boy, I don't know if the lens is dirty. Let's have a look here. Maybe. There we go. Better? I don't know. So here's our pads. We got one in the front and we got one in the back. This particular setup, it has these little clips here that hold the two pads in place. And so we're just going to take our two clips, we're going to pop them out of there. There's little holes right in there that they just slide right into. So you get one side out, and the other side should slide right out. So there's one of our clips. We're going to take him, put him to the side, grab the other side, pop one side out, the other side comes right out. Put him to the other side. One thing I've gotten in the habit of doing with just working on cars is when I take stuff off, I put it down in the same relationship that it came off. So this was the top clip, this is the bottom clip. I highly doubt it would ever make any difference, but just to be safe, why not? Now we got our clips off and our pads. If you look on here, there's little ears on the pads, and so you can wiggle them and you should be able to slide them straight out. So this outside one's going to slide straight out towards you. Might have to give it some convincing. Hopefully it doesn't fly out and pop you in the face. And then there it is. And if you look at these guys, oh yeah, they're done for. Yeah, they still weren't hitting the squeal tab, which, I mean, that sucker doesn't even look like it hangs low enough to squeal on the rotor. I don't even know what the purpose is on that. Maybe the squeal tab's on the back. We'll find out when we get there. So yeah, this sucker is done. I mean, it's not all the way down. I've seen them to where they're all the way to the rivets, or just this back metal piece, metal to metal. And so it's not quite there yet, but it definitely was time to change these suckers out. Let's pull the back one out. Put this guy down right here. Pull his back one out. Just give him a little wiggle. It'll come out the same way the front one did. There we go. Let's look at him. Yeah, he's about the same, isn't he? Yeah, still no squeal tabs. I don't know what. Maybe that's what these things do. They don't squeal, they just make horrific grinding noises. So, I don't know. Toyota, you tell me. I'm going to put them right here. So we got our front and back out of there. And we're just going to inspect the hardware here. Now, I, of course, was cheap and did not get the set with the full hardware. I mean, you don't need to change out these metal parts every single time. I've gotten away with just pulling them off and cleaning them up and putting them back on there. So that's what we're going to do today. So one thing I will say is I like to take just one piece of the hardware off at a time. If you take them all off, then if there's like one side that's specific, which usually they're not, but just to be safe, I'm just going to take one piece off at a time. I'm going to clean it with my handy dandy brake parts cleaner, aka brake clean, aka clean all, aka it'll send you to the moon if you don't have it, don't use it in a ventilated area. This stuff, I use it for everything. So we're just gonna give this a quick cleaning and keep moving. Now the reason why I clean this stuff off is you want everything in here to be able to move freely. So if anything binds up in here, then it's going to make your brake pad bind up. If the brake pad binds up, it's going to bind up on the rotor. Rotor is not going to spin freely. It'll pull to one side, or best case scenario, it'll just wear unevenly. So you want to make sure you get everything cleaned up, especially on this inside part that goes right in here. So this part in here, you want to get that good and clean. Now, of course, you don't got to do any of this cleaning if you get the brake pad set that has all the hardware for an extra 20 bucks. I, however, am a cheap Irish, and I will sit here and scrub on this and put it back together. All right, well, it's not perfect, but it's better than it was. It's good enough. I'm going to slap a little grease in there anyway, so. Just snap him right in there. Now, you'll know when you have it right, because there's a little tab here, see, on the front side. Now that tab needs to rest flush on the front face here, and then these two ears on the sides need to rest flat on the sides of the caliper bracket. So that one's good. Gotta move on to the next one. Okay, we got our top outside one done here, and look at him, he got nice and clean. I'm good with that. Of course, you're not really doing a brake job until you rip your thumb clear through your glove here. Yeah, don't change it out. You just leave that sucker. So you got one nice little black spot on your thumb. All right, this inside upper one, he's pretty gross, so we're gonna get serious with him. Grab our steel brush here. We're gonna give him a good scrubbing. Get all that junk off of there. There we go. Now we're getting somewhere. Also helps you to put a hole in your other thumb, you know. Can't leave it left out. We're getting there. Boy, this side was all gunked up, wasn't it? There we go. Yeah. Spray of the brake clean. There we go. Get another scrub. Doesn't have to be perfect, but I'm trying to get it as clean as possible. Well, not as clean as possible. As clean as I feel like, I suppose. All right, we're gonna call that good enough. Shiny for the most part. Toss him back in here. And where are we at here? That's always entertaining, getting the back ones back in. Is that it? Did I pull the bottom one? Yeah, I pulled the bottom one, didn't I? Yeah, it helps if you put it in the right place. If you put one on top of the other, that doesn't work very well. There we go. Got him back in there. Now let's take this top one out of there. Watch me knock the foam clean off there. Or I just sling it, glare across the garage. There we go. Last one. So on here there's 4 of them, which is typical for most any car. So these little metal guys, they just pad those ears I showed you at the beginning. Right here, they just slide right in there, and they just go back and forth on here. And it just gives it somewhere to slide smoothly, hopefully. One other thing I was going to mention, I said earlier I like to take just one of these metal parts off at a time. Same goes for the whole assembly. So don't take both wheels off and take both calipers off and disassemble the whole front end or the whole back end at the same time. Just do one side at a time. That way, if you get yourself in trouble, you don't remember how something goes back together, you've got another side that's still assembled that you can reference and not have to spend an hour on Google getting frustrated trying to sort through a million results, searching Highlander, and you're getting a cord. So just do one side at a time. All right. Yeah, it's good enough for me. You run your finger in there, make sure there's not a big buildup of crud that's going to keep the pad from sliding freely. And I think it looks pretty good. Now I am going to show you on this one. You can see, if I can get, yeah, there we go. You can see that wear right there. Now that's from the pad going back and forth. And see how the wear marks stop right about there. And then it goes up to about here. This will probably be the last time that I use these ones. I mean, if you look at it straight down the top, it's not like worn clear through, but that's enough wear for me that I think next time we change the brake pads, I'm gonna swap out the hardware. All right, pop that guy back in there. He goes on the top, not the bottom. Okay, now I got what's left of a little package of this stuff. I think I'm gonna try and finish this off so I can get it out of my toolbox. but I wanted to let you know you don't have to buy this stuff. Every time you go to the parts store, the parts guy's gonna try and talk you into paying $5 for this little patch of this stuff. Now, what I've done is I bought, and I'll show you in my mass collection of junk over here. I bought a tub of this stuff, and it's just regular old Master Pro O'Reilly brand high temp disc brake and wheel bearing grease. And I've had that tub for probably 10 years, and I think maybe it's halfway done. If it's good enough for wheel bearings, it'll be good enough for your contact points on your brakes. So pick up a tub of that, let it sit there. I've used it for all kinds of different stuff, so it's not a bad thing to have. Like I said, I'm gonna go ahead and use this little pouch to get rid of it, but just pick up a tub of that. I mean, it's like $5 or $6 for the tub, when this, I don't know how much they charge for these pouches, $1 or $2 at least, I'm sure. It's not a bad purchase. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to get in here, we're going to grab our little pouchy poo here, and we're going to just squeeze them till we get a little bit out of there. Now, you don't need a whole lot. That right there is plenty. And we'll take and smear some on all 4 of these, the hardware. And so what I like to do is I like to go and treat it like it's anti-seize and get it everywhere, but at least on the 3 sides that the brake pad's gonna be riding. So I know I'm not doing a good job of holding the camera, but you know, just smear it around on all 3 sides there. We're gonna do the same thing here. So we're just gonna, I don't know how these YouTube stars can pay attention to what they're doing through the camera. I personally can't do that. So I gotta actually look at what I'm doing. There we go. That's good. It doesn't got to be crazy, you know. It's just enough to get some on all 3 sides there. And I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side, on the back 2 pieces of hardware, and then we'll slide our new pads on. Okay, we have got our Ceramic Glide, just our grease, on all 4 of our hardware pieces here. It's not crazy, it's just enough that it's gonna lubricate it and let it slide back and forth a bit. And here's our pads. Now, I'm gonna say these suckers got expensive in the last year or so. I think the last time I changed a set of brakes was probably a year or so ago. It used to be, from what I could remember, you could get a set of front and back for 40 to 60 bucks. Now, just a set of fronts are 40 to 60 bucks. I don't know if it's just this particular vehicle, but I mean, those don't look like huge pads to me or anything. I don't know. It seems like the price just went up. So this is just for the front. So here's our pads. I did notice that there was some hardware in here, but I darn sure don't look nothing like that. So yeah, keep it. But here's our pads. So we're gonna cut open our packaging here and then compare it to the ones we took off, make sure that they're the same or equivalent, and slap them on. All right, so one thing I like to do is when I get them unpackaged here, I like to look at the part numbers that they have printed on here and compare them. A lot of times if there's a front or a back, or a different front than the back, or give me a moment, a different inside pad than the outside pad, then they'll have different part numbers. And so just looking on here, and we got D1324, H212, blah, 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 N21. Looks like they're all the same to me. Compare the backing plates. All the backing plates look the same. Pad material all looks the same. So I think all of these suckers are identical. And you know what? I think I figured out what our little pieces of hardware in here are. If I can get them. All right. So if you look at the ones we took off, they're pretty much the same except for these little clips here. And so I believe that that is the difference. We just got to put our little clippies on. So if you look on here, the clip goes there, and you got the little ear that points in. So we're going to take it and we're just going to match it up. We're going to put the little ear on there. Maybe. Oh, that's tight. There we go. Just like that. All right. So now we've got that on there. Compared to the other one, little different. Yeah, not sure. Oh, yeah, I get it. It's because I put it on backwards. Let's try that again. All right, goes this way. Maybe. What? This way. Yeah. So we've got our pad like that, and our pad like that, and the curved end goes out this way. How does that work? Boy, I never thought a brake pad would be so confusing. Maybe it's just me. I am having a hard time tonight. So, curved in goes out that way. No, that way. Yeah, like that, right? I believe so. Well, I think we got it. All right, now let's compare it. Yep, that's better. That's what we're looking for. All right, now the one other thing that we're going to swap here, or the one thing we are going to swap between the pads, is this backing plate. So we're going to take this guy, we're going to pop him off here, and see he just comes right off the back of the old pad. Just like that. Let's look at this. What's that say? Advix. Toyota. Boy, I think these are the original pads. 2018, 19, 4 years. Lasted 4 years. I'd say that's pretty good. If these suckers don't work out, then might just go to Toyota and pay $200 for a set of pads. Not. I'll be doing the AutoZone lifetime warranty exchange on these bad boys. There we go. Now when you put these on, there's little nubs on the back side of the new pads. If you look right right there, these nubs, and so those align your backing plate, and so we'll toss that guy on there. And also I like to put a little bit of our grease on this backside. I don't worry about cleaning the side in between the pad and the backing plate, but I am going to just hit this real quick with a rag. Maybe a quick spritz on my pants of brake clean. And give her a little scrub. There we go. Since we're running a little bit low on our fancy Ceramaglide, I'm just going to grab my tub of wheel bearing grease and slap some of that on the backside. Give me a minute. All right, here's my tub. I always keep my lid in here and just try and keep some of the dirt and crap out of there. I think I hear a mouse. Oh, I hate mice. Also makes it easy to get some, so you can just grab your lid and flop him over there. Ignore the dog hair. Oh no, that's wife hair right there. Get that out of there. All right. Then you can just grab your pad. We'll flip him over. Focus. And you're just going to want to get a little, try and make sure there's no dirt in there. Get a little bit. And then because this is a dual piston caliper, you can see right here on both sides, one piston rides here, one piston rides here, and so I'm just going to hit this, at least get it around the outside edges, maybe smear it all over. Why not smear it all over a little bit? There we go. Put that on there, right where those pistons ride, and that's what's pushing on the brake pad, and so we're just gonna put it right there because that's a friction point. There we go. Isn't that good? Doesn't got to be crazy. Just a little something. Put our lid back in there. Wipe off our greasy finger. And I'm gonna flip my rag over to the non-grease side. And I'm going to, you gotta do the same thing on the other pad too. So since we got this one all set up and ready, I'm gonna go ahead and slide him in the back because that is the side where it was. You can tell which side the old pad came off of, the one we were replicating, because it has, oh no, this is the front side. Yeah, so this isn't where the piston was pushing. This is where the caliper bracket was sandwiching. It was the caliper pistons are pushing, and then the bracket is just sandwiching on the other side. So we're going to put this on the front side. And down upside the army. Doing great tonight, everybody. Doing great. And let's try and get a focus. Focus. There we go. All right, so we're gonna take, you got your ears here. We're gonna slide that in there. I usually try to get one side first, and then you gotta push up and push the bottom side in at the same time. So I'm pushing up with my thumb, and then I'm gonna slide it in. Try not to get my glove stuck in there. There we go. It pops right in there, or not. Looks like our hardware that we changed out is not wanting to cooperate, just like my phone. There we go. See how that guy's hanging up right there? Yeah, we got to get him to pop in there. So, focus. $1,400 phone. Come on. Get in there. Got something in there. It's close. It's close. Oh, it is. It's there. Those are just some thick boys. Look at all that meat on them. Very nice. Okay, well, I guess it is all the way where it needs to be because it's clean up against the rotor. So that's good. Let's move on to the back one. All right, now this side's pretty much just like the side I just showed you. I did want to show you real quick the difference. So this is the side I thought we were working on to begin with, but see how it's the two round spots? That's where the pistons ride. So the pistons push up against here, against this pad, and sandwiches against the bracket on the other side. But I wanted to show you the inside. Now this is why I'm not going to clean up in between where the pad and the backing plate go, because they got this material in there. I assume it's just like RTV or something, but I'm just gonna leave it because it's in good shape. I'm sure it keeps it from vibrating around and making too much noise. So she just goes right back on there just like that. Now that we got our pads in there, all greased up, all the contact points, good to go. We got kind of a contrasting pattern here of grease. We got the pink and the blue. But we got both of our pads on, all of our hardware is on there. Backing plates are there. Cleaned up our existing hardware down here, at least a little bit. And everything's greased up and ready to go. Next, we got to push the pistons in on the caliper. Now this has got to be something that's got to be pretty hard for me to get on video, at least with doing it by myself. But what I like to do is I like to take the pad. Let me see if I can. Ooh, how we gotta do this? You stay. No. Come on. You know you want to stay. No, it doesn't want to stay. Anyway, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take one of our old pads, and we're just gonna slap it down up against the flat up against these pistons. And then I have my handy dandy C-clamp here, and we are going to put that C-clamp smack dab in the middle of the two pistons, and then the other end of the C-clamp right here on this little pad. And we are going to twist that sucker down until it squishes these pistons down. Now, I will let you know that some vehicles, I think like Audis, maybe BMWs, some vehicles have pistons that twist, and so you don't really get so lucky with the C-clamp getting them to squish down. And so you have to get like a specific tool that goes in here and it twists it as it pushes it down. So we're pretty fortunate here that it doesn't look like these are that type of pistons. So we're going to put the pad on there and then push it down. Okay. There. Come on. Oh, I don't know if it's going to go far enough. Well, I started with one side and then went to the other side, and then it started pushing them both down at once. So it was good. I'll be honest with you, I didn't get to work with this fancy more than one piston caliper stuff very often. But I do appreciate Toyota taking care of their people like that. Now, I will tell you, don't wrench on that sucker too tight. Just get it down to where it's about flush. If you push down on there too tight, if you wrench on that C-clamp, then you can break the seals that are in there. So I'm going to grab you and show you. So on the outside edges of that of those pistons, see there's those rubber kind of rings, and those are the seals for the pistons. You don't want to push down on those guys too awful hard, because it will mess them up. I keep messing up this camera. I was just looking at that little shiny spot there. I think that's just a little bit of grease that got cleaned off of there. I don't think it's anything too. Let's see. Oh yeah, see, I just cleaned off the other side a little bit. It's good, but we got it nice and flush, so that's as far in as they're gonna go. Now we're gonna take our caliper and slide him back on there. Oh my goodness, man, those are some thick pads. Boy. Oh, let's put you over here. I hope you're focused. If you're not, then I'm sorry, but you're just gonna have to be blind. All right, well, this is interesting. It's quite the predicament. Looks like the pads are so thick that the caliper don't want to slide all the way on there. Oh, wow. There we go. Okay. And then you got your bolts here, or your mounts for your caliper bolts. They slide in and out as well. And so once you get these kind of on there, then you're going to need to push your mounts for your caliper bolts in. I'll usually just give them a few taps. We might be binding them up. Might have to grab something with a little more persuasion. Good golly. Oh man. It ain't gonna make it easy tonight, I don't think. I don't even know if I can get this sucker. I think my bungee cord is bungeed its last caliper. I'm just trying not to Oh, hello. Yeah, good enough. Okay. Let's grab something with a little more persuasion, shall we? No, too much persuasion. Not enough persuasion. Just right. All right. Now we're just going to give her a few taps. Try and get this sucker to... We might have to. Well, yeah, this is proving to be a lot more of a headache than what I thought it was going to be. All right, well, I'm going to grab a bigger hammer. All right, I'm about done asking. If this one don't work, we're gonna get old Billy. Oh yeah, there it goes. Oops. Oh, done got dirt all up in our nice grease. See, I'm telling you, high struggle tonight. High struggle. Let's clean that up. Dip our finger in the grease down and re-grease this part. Try not. One thing I try not to do is exactly what I did right there. I try not to get the grease on the pad. So we are going to clean up the rotors if we ever get the calipers back on the brackets. But clean the grease off our mitts again. I bet you this pad is going to fight me. It fought me the first time. I wouldn't fight me this time. Alright. Make sure there ain't no grease on the face of it there. Looks pretty. Oh, what is that right there? My goodness. Well, I don't know if that's a manufacturing thing or... I'm going to hit them with a little brake clean just in case. Rather some fabric hairs than grease on the pad material. Do not want grease on the pads. There we go. I think that looks good. Alright, let's see if we can't get this guy back in here. Get in there. That's the problem is that little guy there don't like to squish down. Okay. Come on. Get in there. Why did you have to fall out? You fell out so frickin' easy. Why can't you just go back in? Oh. Oh. Now my hardware is popping out. Man. Riding the struggle bus. I swear, these aren't usually that hard. I promise. Let's get this guy in here. Come on now. You can get in there. Get that on this side too. Okay. All right. You're gonna go whether you like it or not. Why? What's it hitting? I don't understand. Let's try getting this side in first. There. I think we got it. Maybe. Maybe. What's this side look like? I think so. Isn't that right? No, that ain't right. Get you in there. There. I think that's it. I think we got it. Yeah. That's it. Okay. Hey. Well, I hope you enjoyed my face looking all goofy and contorted, and you know, the way these things work is it's all about how you hold your mouth to get it to go right. All right. I think we got them in far enough. Caliper mounts. And get you out of here. All right, let's try this. Okay. Come on now. Come on now. You can do it. You know you want to. It's meant to be. That's still not far enough. That bottom one is. That top one don't want to be. We're leaving our caliper on there. Because I don't want that pad to go back in there. Boy, these suckers don't want to go. They don't want to go. I thought they were 14s. 15s? No, they were 14s. No, there were 17s on the inside. That's right. Let's see. Come on now. So close. There. Okay, we're there. We're there. Let's hurry up and get those bolts in before it changes its mind. Changes its mind. Changes its mind. I don't know. Maybe it's me that doesn't have a mind anymore. There's one. I always put the top bolt in first. Because if you can get that sucker started, then it's a lot easier to get the bottom one lined up. And just wiggle it back and forth a bit. until it starts. There we go. I think. There we go. All right. They're both in there. And 14. There it is. Get them tightened. Looks like we got to put our 17 back in there. This top one, for some reason, is a pain. All right. There we go. Then I'm going to grab my cheater wrench, put him on the top because we're going the opposite way now. And make sure that they're good and tight. They don't got to be super tight. You don't want to snap them because you can snap them and that's a bad situation. But you want to make sure that they're not going to back out. I'm sure that there is a torque spec for these bad boys, but pretty sure the torque spec is exactly where I have them. I would say I probably have them about 50 foot-pounds or so. All right. I just gotta check it one more time to make sure. Oh yeah, we're good. Yeah. Doesn't seem like that one was still moving just a bit. Let's get on there. Oh, it's because it's spinning still. This guy likes to spin. It's good. All right. Now the last thing you want to do, you want to go in here and clean up your rotor surface. So what I'll do is grab a cleaner rag, one that doesn't have grease all over it. All right, we got our cleaner rag. It's clean-ish, I swear. And we're just gonna spray our brake clean on the rotor. You want to get it around there a bit, and then you're just gonna, what I like to do is I like to just hold it here and then spin the rotor. And so let's see if we can get you where you can see. We'll just put our, nope. There we go. Give her this quick wipe down. The main thing is you just want to get all the grease off of there, and so you if you just spray it and then wipe it, and then you want to make sure you turn the rotor at least some. Boy, that sucker is in there tight. Whoo, she's gonna have to break in a bit to start moving freely. There we go. Get all that clean. Boy, howdy. All right. It's good. And then you want to do the same thing on the back side too. So I'm going to do the back side. And then I am going to put the wheel on. And this side is done. And you pretty much just repeat it on the other side. And I will get back to you on the break-in. So I do want to point out one thing. Remember those clips we took off first thing on the other side? Well, they didn't go back on. So the other side's got to come back off for those two stupid little clips. So don't forget to put the clips back on.
Well, our brake clean lasted. Look, there's still even a few squirts left in there. Look at that. Used up our ceramic glide looby dooby.
Okay, after you're done with your brake pad change and you get everything back together, get the wheels on, get the vehicle lowered back down, you get in the car, start it up, and the first thing you want to do is you want to push down on the brakes a few times. So I don't think you can see anything down there, but you want to push on the pedal, and the first time you push on it, it'll be real soft. So you want to build up that pressure and get the pistons seated down up against the pads again. And now we'll take the world's quickest trip to Mexico and show you guys how to do a proper break-in of the pads. Okay, so what I like to do is I'll start out, I'll go up to about 20 miles an hour. I know that you can't really see the speedometer too well where the camera's at, but it's what I could do. So here we are, we're right at about 20, just a little bit over. You want to do heavy braking all the way to a stop. So we did 20. Now we're gonna go down a ways. Hopefully the phone mount doesn't fall off. I'm just gonna go this way. Side streets of Mexico. So we did 20, hard brake to a stop. Now we're gonna do 30. Right at about 30, and everything in the car. So we did 20, we did 30. Now we'll get up to 40. Usually after 40, I call it good. Get up here. There's 40. And I'd say it works. We'll do one more for good measure and call it good. All the Royal Crest guys probably think I'm nuts, but it's what I've always done. Changing out new rotors, new pads. Get them broken good, especially when it's for somebody else's car. Make sure it's good and safe. And now I'm just gonna take it for one more spin, just with normal braking, some stop and go driving, make sure it feels good, and call it good.